Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Welcome to Banstead Library. Let's hear it for Banstead Library. You know, I think if people were asked all around the world if they'd heard of Banstead Library, they'd all say no. If you stop someone in the street in America and you said, have you heard of Banstead Library? They say no. If you stop them in France, they say no. Papua New Guinea, China. No one's heard of Banstead Library, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm here to tell you, can you turn it down just a tiny bit? Yeah. That's it. Sorry, you must work down off. Just like that. There we go, that's perfect. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that Banstead Library is a significant place. And let me hear you say, Banstead Library is a significant place.
Banstead Library is a significant place.
That's right. Banstead Library opened in September 1961. And in December 1961, ladies and gentlemen, there was a #1 in the charts, and it was Danny Williams singing Moon River. And as people gathered round their Christmas trees in December 1961, and they handed presents to each other, and Moon River came out of the radios in their house, Banstead Library was here. And ladies and gentlemen, in the following year, in 1962, when Decca turned down the Beatles, yes, ladies and gentlemen, when Decca, the guy in the office in Decca said, I don't want the Beatles because guitar groups are on the way out. When he uttered those words, Banstead Library was here. In 1963, when JF Kennedy was in his car with Jackie Kennedy, and they were going up the street in Dallas, Texas, people lining the streets, looking in his eyes and seeing hope for the whole world. Before the gunman pulled the trigger, Banstead Library was here. And ladies and gentlemen, that same year, a small black boy sang a song called Fingertips, and the world was transfixed. Yes, the first time we heard of Stevie Wonder, he was just 13 years old, and Banstead Library was here. Let me hear you say, Banstead Library was here.
Banstead Library was here.
And in 1964, when my mum and dad got married, leading to a chain of events that would eventually culminate in my very existence, Banstead Library was here. In 1965, ladies and gentlemen, when they decided in an office somewhere in London that the speed limit, the national speed limit in this country should be 70 miles an hour, when they sat round that actual desk and looked into each other's actual eyes, Banstead Library was here. In 1966, 13 miles from here, on the hallowed turf of Wembley, Bobby Moore held up the Jules Rimet trophy, and when his thumb touched the metal of that trophy for the very first time, let me hear you say it.
Banstead Library was here.
In 1967, in a small house in Cheam in Northey Avenue, when these lungs breathed for the very first time,
Banstead Library was here.
in 1968, when a 33-year-old nervous Elvis Presley stood in the wings of an NBC TV studio, bedecked in black leather, thinking to themselves, will they still like me? Will we still like him? We loved him all over again, ladies and gentlemen. In 1968, the comeback special was a triumph, and guess what? Banstead Library was here. In 1969, when the foot of Neil Armstrong hit the surface of the moon and the dust sprayed out, when he felt that resistance underneath his foot and realised he was standing on the moon.
Hey,
Will you
matey.
say it? In 1970, when Jimi Hendrix attended his first ever recording session, and everyone said to themselves, what kind of noise is this guy going to make out of this guitar? He's strung it upside down, he's holding it upside down. Ladies and gentlemen, when they turned on that old valve amp, Banstead Library was here. That is 1 decade, ladies and gentlemen. 1 decade. And Banstead Library was here for all of those amazing events. Let's hear it for Banstead Library! Say Banstead Library was here. I can't hear you. One more time. And again. Now strap in. In 1971, when they dismantled London Bridge and reassembled it in the United States of America. In In 1972, I always struggle with this one. 1972, no, never mind who won the FA Cup, that's not important. In 1972, hang on. 1972, we're nearly there. When they first started selling pocket calculators. In 1973, when the world's greatest James Bond film was made with the world's greatest James Bond. Yes, there's no argument, Live and Let Die, Roger Moore. In 1974, when we watched Richard Nixon say there will be no whitewash at the White House, and he resigned the presidency. Guess what? In 1975, when a specky guy called Bill gathered all his specky mates round and everyone pointed at them and said they are just geeks with B.O. But I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, there's something running on the roof. I tell you what, when he uttered the words, let's call our little club Microsoft. In 1976, ladies and gentlemen, the hottest summer that this country has ever known hit Banstead. Stuff was melting. Did that building melt? No! Why not? In 1977, we lost Elvis. But when Virginia Wade hit that backhand up the line to win Wimbledon. In 1978, don't leave me now, we've got a long way to go. In 1978, when Lionel Richie was still in the Commodores and he sung "You're once, you're twice, you're three times a lady," he may as well have sung "You're once, you're twice, you're three times the library," because guess what? Banstead Library was here. In 1979, when Margaret Thatcher became the first ever female Prime Minister and the first ever bungee jump took place off Clifton Suspension Bridge, possibly as a reaction. That's the 60s and the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for Banstead Library.
Yay!
In 1980. In 1980, ladies and gentlemen, when they first started selling post-it notes and fax machines. In 1981, when Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer and we had no idea of the tragedy that lay ahead. In 1982, it's always the twos, isn't it? In 1982, have I said 81? I have. In 1982, when an alien finger pointed at the moon and said, "Phone home," and we fell in love with E.T. In 1983, when Motorola sold mobile phones for the first time. In 1984, when a makeshift gang of people from the glitterati of the pop world recorded "Do They Know It's Christmas?" In 1985, when they discovered the wreck of the Titanic 2.5 miles down at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Newfoundland. In 1986, when Tyson became the youngest ever heavyweight champion of the world. In 1987, when a hurricane hit Banstead, give me an ooh of anticipation. Trees lay strewn all around, give me another ooh. Oaks Park was decimated, but did this building move? No, it didn't. Why not, ladies and gentlemen? In 1988, Haley Joel Osment was born. Yes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when the kid who would eventually star in Sixth Sense and utter the immortal words, "I see dead people," was born. In 1989, when the first bricks fell off the side of the Berlin Wall and people either side of that great wall cheered, guess what? This didn't crumble. Banstead Library was here. In 1990, when they freed Nelson Mandela. In 1991, when the internet first became available for commercial use. In 1992, it's always the twos. In 1992, when China got its first McDonald's. In 1993, when Bill Clinton became the President of the United States of America and Dyson released the first ever bagless Hoover. In 1994, when they opened the Channel Tunnel. In 1995, when DVDs arrived. In 1996, when the greatest ever footballer that ever lived dinked the ball over Colin Hendry, caught it on the volley, and scored a goal that gave us a 2-1 win over Scotland in Euro 96, and I jumped out of a chair in a flat in Mulgrave Road and said, "Gaza, Gaza, Gaza," and tried to stop myself crying in front of my friends. In 1997, ladies and gentlemen, Channel 5 started, Princess Diana left us, and they cloned some sheep. And you know when that happened? Guess what? In 1998, when they signed the peace agreement in Northern Ireland.
Banstead Library was here.
In 1999, when this beautiful blue globe we are currently standing on, floating through space as far as we know, nowhere near anything else, numbered its human inhabitants at 6 billion.
Banstead Library was here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one more decade to go. And I want you to shout it for all your might so the whole of Banstead knows that this is not an insignificant building. Are you ready to shout as loud as you can? Let me hear you. Let's have a practice.
Banstead Library was here.
Banstead Library was here.
Banstead Library was here.
And again.
Banstead Library was here.
One more practice.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2000, when Europe was under the grip of mad cow disease.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2001, when the Twin Towers collapsed.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2002, when the Queen celebrated her Golden Jubilee.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2003, when Concorde had its last commercial flight.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2004, when Facebook was invented.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2005, when Tony Blair, ladies and gentlemen, won his third term.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2006, when the planet Pluto was downgraded to a dwarf planet. In 2007, when they opened the new Wembley Stadium.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2008, when the USA elected its first black president.
Banstead Library was here.
In 2009, when the boy who had charmed us all by singing ABC and I Want You Back was now a 50-year-old man stuck on prescription drugs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we lost Michael Jackson. What happened? Tell me about this building. But in 2010, when 33 Chilean miners came out of the ground, ladies and gentlemen, out of what looked like some sort of metal drinking straw, stuck in a underground milkshake of death, as they all popped up one at a time, like crocuses on a beautiful spring morning, and every one of us watched it, and all around the world they watched it, and if we didn't think the words out loud, we certainly thought them in our hearts. We thought, maybe, young man, mankind shouldn't be given up on just yet. And I tell you for why. Because...
Banstead Library was here.
And in 2011, when I made this speech...
Banstead Library was here.
Thank you! Ladies and gentlemen, just be grateful we're not celebrating a centenary. Yes, that's right, for 50 years, there were possibly 50 years that had the most change in human history. Banstead Library was here. And I'm reminded of the words of Confucius. He said, how much longer are you going to do, mate? And he also said, the river is constantly changing, but remains the same. And that takes us back, doesn't it? To get ready on that. That takes us back to December 1961, when Danny Williams stepped up to the microphone, then looked round at the orchestra and said, hit the music, please. I'm crossing you in style someday. You dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going to stay. Two drifters, Twix, off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same. I blame the sound system. Rainbow's end, waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, moon, river, and my God Library, and God bless you all.